there's not one answer that anybody can give you on the topic of this video on how to quit your job and to trade full time. Because there's not this secret that you need to know. There's some pillars that you're gonna have to have, and then there's like 15 things that you're gonna have to do well that aren't that hard, they're not secrets, but you need to do them. And so in this video, if you're serious and you wanna quit your job and get into trading and pursue this full time, I wanna break down some of those 15 things, if you will, and just give you something very practical and give you some stuff that you can start using right now. Keeping in mind that the scope of this video doesn't allow me to lay everything out in detailed step by step, but I just want to get the ball rolling and to give you some things that you can start to use immediately right now and to really start getting you thinking in the right direction. Okay, before I start giving you the points, if you will, let me tell you quickly a little bit about my story, because I have been through this multiple times on my trading journey. Getting into trading, going into it, getting to the place of full-time, quitting everything else, having that all fall apart, go back to working and juggling trading, getting back to the place of quitting everything else and trading full-time. It's been a cycle for me, all right? So before I got into trading, I was literally a truck washer in Hot Springs, Arkansas, of all places. Just very different work. It was very meaningless. It was very physically intensive, not just because the work was hard, but it was outside in the elements all day, every day. And Arkansas borders Texas, so I mean, we're very far south. And if you ever work outside, there's several months of the year, a few months of the year, when the weather's like beautiful and you feel really good about it. And then you're always like battling the cold, or you're battling the extreme heat. And I remember one time we were washing trucks, and I literally, like, we're just washing, and I started throwing up. I had no idea what happened. It was just literally started vomiting. And then dry heaving because I had nothing left in my body. And I just thought I was dying. Like, my body just shut down and gave out on me. And to come to find out, I had a form of heat exhaustion that just like wrecked my body. But that's the kind of thing, I guess you kind of have to put up with when you work outside. There came a point, I think, for everybody when we have this realization that we have to work a lot of our lives. And the idea of waking up every day and dedicating that much of your life to something that you could care less about or that you have no passion for, it's a weird thought. Like, it's really a depressing thought. And that's where I was at with truck washing. Not that it was the worst job in the world, but it was something that I had no passion for, and that I didn't want to look back on my life and realize I was a truck washer. I just wanted something else. And then there's the idea that I wanted to travel, and I started to figure out kind of what really I wanted to do, and realizing that the truck washing lifestyle was never going to get me those things. So I had this idea of getting out of truck washing and getting into trading. And it was going to be great. I was going to, make millions of dollars, and I was going to be able to have the freedom to travel and to do everything I wanted. It was a flawless, very ill thought out plan that I was really excited about. The issue was that I wasn't good at trading, and I lost all of my money because I really had no idea what I was doing. And I went on these very extreme cycles of making a lot of money and then losing a lot of money. And what you come to find out very quickly in the trading world, especially, if you have a high risk tolerance, it's really not that hard to make a lot of money. But keeping that money is very difficult. I had a mentor who used to always say, any asshole can sit down at a computer, push a button, and make money in the markets. And it's true, but if you can do that day in, day out, year after year, that's something completely different. And that's something I had no idea how to do. So I just experienced these ups and downs and kind of these wild swings for a while. And somewhere along the line, I started getting serious about it and started realizing that I don't know what I'm doing here, and I got to get this buckled down, because I've kind of, in my mind, came too far to turn back. Like I was in this, and I wanted to do it. I loved the work. I just, wasn't very good at it. And so I was introduced to volume profiling right around that same time. And for me, that was just the approach that made sense. So I was introduced to that. I started really studying that out, started building up my skill with volume profiling, introduced order flow, auction market theory. That became my thing. I started getting rid of these wild swings up and down and started focusing in on consistency. That was just a byproduct of, kind of this new approach. And that got me to the place of getting to be able to scale my account up organically. Okay, when I had my last drawdown period, I had crashed my account down to $700. I had $700 in my brokerage account. I was introduced to volume profiling. I started on this new path, and I slowly, organically grew my account back up to $22,000. And at that point, I could make enough with that $22,000 where I could get out of everything else and just focus on trading full time. We're still kind of early in 2019, but in 2018, I traveled like crazy. And I travel a lot because this is a big part of why I trade. I took 4 different trips to Arkansas last year. And I went once to see Kevin Hart because he was in town. I was there for 2 days, but I'm a huge fan and it was an awesome show. I went to Gainesville, Orlando, and Pensacola 3 different times. I spent 6 weeks in Charleston. I went out of the country to Europe for 3 months. I spent some time far up north, just traveling almost constantly. Trading makes this possible. So let's talk about some tips, tricks, secrets, whatever you want to call them, about making this transition, okay? And keeping in mind that this is just my story. I'm just going to share with you my thoughts on this. And for your situation, you might need some, professional financial advice before you do anything drastic. I made a lot of drastic choices when I first got into trading. And looking back, I don't know that I would recommend them that way, but it was my path. And so talking a little bit more grounded, let's look at some ideas on how to make this transition and what it looks like, okay? The first kind of unsexy thing, but the reality is where you start off, you have got to get serious about being educated. In the trading community, there is this wild gap between the education it takes to make a run at this thing and what everybody is just kind of doing. What happens is when you are trading, you got to adopt the mindset that you are starting a business. And there's no other business in the world that people would get into and be okay being wildly uneducated and expect it to turn out well. What happens is in trading, it would be the equivalent if somebody had no restaurant experience. They've never worked in a restaurant. They've never run one, managed one, nothing. But they had this idea that, hey, I want to start a restaurant. So they go out and they watch some YouTube videos. They read a couple blogs. They get all excited and they go buy a piece of property and they start their restaurant. Like, none of us would expect that to succeed, and we would all expect it to fail. But that is exactly how everybody jumps into trading. No education, no understanding of what the job looks like or what they need to be doing. And I know this is the path of everybody because this was my path. I spent the first couple years wildly unproductive because I was completely uneducated about what I was supposed to be doing. And in trading, the only way you get to the place of quitting your job and doing it full time is if you get good at it. You are never going to master anything if you're ignorant about it. So you have to step up your game and you got to get educated. And if you're new and you don't necessarily know what you need to be doing, use YouTube, use blogs, use that to get yourself exposure. But there comes a point where if you want to get serious about this, you got to lock in and you got to get good at something. I do live trading in our group every single day, Monday through Friday. You come in there and you'll see I have a next level knowledge of volume profiling, of auction market theory, and of order flow. Because that's what I do. That's my thing. That's what I locked in on. I've spent money getting one-on-one mentoring. I've spent money getting live event type situations. I've spent money on courses. I've spent money on books. Just getting focused and getting narrowed in on my approach of futures, volume profiling, order flow, and auction market theory. Okay, whatever your thing is, narrow it down, use free stuff to figure it out, whatever, but dump some money into some education and get serious about knowing your approach, knowing your skill, and getting very, very good at it. Don't be the person that goes out and tries to start the restaurant after watching some YouTube videos. It's going to fail. If that is your mindset, you really need to do something else. This isn't the business to be in. Okay, the second kind of, I don't know if this is a tip, but it's the idea of juggling your full-time job with trading. When you have a full-time job and you're trying to trade as well, okay, a very common thing is, where do I find the time to actually trade? So here's the deal. If you don't have enough time to trade, you have to realize first and foremost, you're going to be wildly inconvenienced. If you want to take where you're at in life right now and get to the next level and get to all the amazing benefits that come with trading full time, and you don't want to be inconvenienced or you don't want to change anything about your life, good luck to you. You're the person who's trying to start, a restaurant after watching YouTube. It's just not a reality. So you're going to have to make time. You're going to have to say no to a lot of other things to find the time to be a trader. There's no way around this. We love to, as humans, to lie and to make excuses that revolve around time. When in reality, nothing in life is fair. right? Nothing is even. We don't have even backgrounds. We don't have even education or skill sets or knowledge or head starts in life, right? Like everybody's kind of scattered around. But the great equalizer and the one thing that we all had the same amount of is time. And so if you say, I don't have enough time, you're lying to yourself because you have all the time that there is. I don't have one more second than you do. You just have to choose how you use it. And you're gonna have to say no to stuff. You're gonna have to put things away. You're gonna have to turn people down. You're gonna have to offend people in some cases. That's what it's going to take. When you're working a full-time job and you're trying to trade, I see this all the time. People try to squeeze trading into like the busiest parts of their life. They're trying to do their full-time day job and squeeze in, manage positions, look at their trades. And it's crazy. You don't have to do that. If you're trading, if you're trying to trade and you have a full-time job, you have to tap into the incredible freedom that the market gives you. What does that mean? Okay, virtually every hour of the day, there is going to be a market open and products that are moving. Okay, so what you can do is you can tap into that incredible freedom that the market gives you where you don't have to be in front of your computer from 9 to 5 like you used to be. Those days are gone. Electronic trading has changed everything in some of these global markets. So what does that look like and what does that mean? If you are trying to figure out where to trade, you have to look at your schedule. Figure out what your day job requires you to do, figure out what your family, your other responsibilities are, but you have to chunk out some time that you can dedicate to trading. What you can't do is randomly here and there, whenever you get some free time, try to tackle trading and expect that you're gonna see consistent results. Trading cannot be a hobby. It can be a part-time business, but it has to be a business. And so you have to approach it with some structure. So look at your schedule, figure out, okay, I'm off every day at 4 from 5 o'clock till 8 o'clock, Monday through Friday, I can dedicate to trading. Okay, on Monday, Wednesday, Fridays, I can dedicate 4 hours to trading. Whatever it is, it doesn't matter. Figure out the times that you can dedicate that this is where you're gonna work on and this is what you're gonna commit to trading. Once you have that chunk of time, you need to find a market that's gonna give you opportunity. If you can trade from 5 o'clock to 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, then you probably want to avoid the US stock market because it's going to be closed and it's not going to be giving you the opportunity that you need. But you can look at Forex, you can look at crypto, you can look at the Globex session for futures. There's a lot of options that you have. You just need to make sure that you're using your time appropriately. And you can find this out with some really basic research, some really simple research. Okay, if you have that chunk of time that you know you're dedicating for your trading, if you don't know what to trade, don't trade, use that time to research markets and to find where you need to be trading. Okay, how you would do that is incredibly simple. You can use a free charting package, tradingview.com. Go check it out. You can use theirs. But pull up some charts, start looking at Forex, start looking at crypto, start looking at futures, start looking at stocks, whatever you want to look at, and just use a simple volume indicator. And what you can do is you can put that on a 15 or a 30-minute time frame, like pull up a 15 or a 30-minute, chart, put on a volume indicator, and you can look back in time. Spend an hour and just look as far back as you can go and look at daily sessions and see where the most volume typically is. Okay, if you notice that, or if you think that you really love the crypto markets and you can trade this amount of time every day, but consistently every day, that's a very dead time for the crypto space, then you really need to look at something else. You don't need to be stuck in the crypto space because it's not going to give you any opportunity. There's an old trading saying that says, you're only as good as the products you trade. This is very true because if you're the best trader in the world, but your products aren't moving, you're not going to have any opportunity. So that opportunity, when I say moving, that's volatility. When things are moving up, when things are coming down, when things are moving, we call that volatility. Volatility, that movement, is the lifeblood of a trader. If that volatility dries up, your earning potential dries up as well. So when you're looking for a market to trade, you need something that has volume, something that's volatile, and it has to be moving. There's no movement, there's no opportunity. So typically, depending on, maybe a unique strategy you have, the more volatility that you have in a market, the more opportunity that that's going to give you. Okay, too much volatility might be bad, but too much of anything's bad, right? So figure out what your schedule is, figure out what you can allow. And if you're serious about trying to get into trading full time, you have to chunk out a daily time, or at least multiple times a week, that you can dedicate to trading. Once you have that time, do some market research, figure out what markets and what products are moving and providing you opportunity during that time. Don't try to squeeze trading into some weird little, busy slot in your life. Figure out when you're free and fit trading into that. It's one of the beautiful things about trading. It's advantage. Use it. Use those volatile times to make the most of the trading time that you have. Another kind of tip, maybe the last thing I'll say with you guys, is if you want to get into trading and you have little money or you don't have enough capital, what do you do there? And so what do you do if you want to get back into trading or you want to trade full time, leave your day job, but you don't have enough capital, okay? This is a real concern. Not having enough time, that's just an excuse, but not having enough capital is a very real thing. And going back to kind of my first point, you have to look at this like you are starting your own business. And it doesn't matter if you want to start a lemonade stand, you're going to need a little bit of startup capital. If you don't have a day job and if you don't have any money coming in, then you definitely don't need to worry about trying to start a trading business. You need to fix your cash flow problem. You have to go out and get a job so that you can live and that you can pay your bills, and then you can focus on trading. But if you're like most people and you have a day job and you're bringing in money, but you don't have enough money to start in trading, what do you do? Okay, trading is a business that is going to require startup, but you can have a very lean startup. Another beautiful thing about trading that you can tap into. When you're getting into trading, you actually don't need any money. If you're trying as soon as you start to get out there and to get a funded account and to start trading it, you will piss away that money. Don't do it. When you start trading, that first step of kind of getting really focused on education, building up a skill set, narrowing down what you want to do, that's a whole process that you need to worry about before you worry about funding an account. Okay, so what I'm saying is you have this gap of time where you can start saving up, you can start putting aside your seed capital, if you will, to get into trading. Okay, it doesn't have to be a lot of money. You can start off with a nice little chunk if you have several thousand. If you have several hundreds, you can start there. Okay, and the way that you do it is you just grow it organically. What you can't do is take a few $100s or even $1,000 and go into the market and just make $100,000, quit your day job that month and live life on easy street. Okay, if that's your idea, you should take that little, amount of capital you have, your $1,000, whatever, and go buy lottery tickets because you probably have a better chance of, hitting it big there than you do in the actual markets. So what you do is you start your account. This is exactly what I did. So I started my account, or in this case, restarted my account with a very small amount of capital, whatever you have. Start trading, start getting consistent, right? Not start trading, start getting consistent, but start with that consistency. Then if you have a day job that's actually making you money, you can take money you have saved up or money that you're using on the side to fund into your account. Okay, so I would trade and I was making small gains because I had a small account. And then I would just save up every time I had an extra $700, an extra $1,400, I would throw that into my trading account. Okay, so you can kind of fuel that growth. You don't need to be practicing in a live environment. When you make the process from going from a sim account to a real account, that's not something that's left up to guesswork. You don't have to wonder about that. It's not rolling the dice. That needs to be a systematic thing. Going back to your education, that's something that you should have covered and that you should be doing intelligently and tactically. And so you get to the place, you're ready to do this, you fund your account, you begin. If you have the ability, one, you just scale it organically on its own, but if you can fund it with something else coming from another job, all the better. Understanding that the growth model for trading is just more capital. You're not going to take this little tiny amount of money and just crush the market. It doesn't happen. But you can take your little bit amount of money and get it bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, and then start crushing the market with a larger amount of capital. Does that make sense? So if you don't have enough money, understand that you don't need a huge chunk of money to start off. If you start off with a huge chunk of money, you will blow every dollar of it. Get into training, get into sim, get into building up your skill, and then start in with your account. Then start growing it. Start you doing this organically. How you scale, how you transition from sim to real, that doesn't have to be left up to chance. All that stuff you just need to follow a proven system. It's not hard, it's not rocket science, but you can't do it randomly. It's got to be systematic, or at least, even if you don't follow a proven system, something that makes sense to you that you can follow. So there's just a few points about going from working full-time, trying to get into trading full-time. Understanding that there's other things that are going to come along the way, but there's just some general ideas and some things that you can start with. Okay, understanding, recognizing. The main kind of takeaway here, just understanding that this is a business. And it has to be done systematically. It has to be done purposefully. It can't just be all done left up to chance or just on hopes and feelings, and where logic just gets thrown out the window. So if any of these points resonated with you, and you want to take this a little bit further, I've created a pretty long training. It's about 2 hours that just kind of dives deeper on this topic about getting started with trading and what the path looks like, what some of the key steps are. And I'll link that in the bio. If that's you, I know you'll get a lot of value from it. So go check it out. The link will be right below, okay? For everybody else, make sure you leave me a comment, chat with me below. Just let me know, one, what you thought about this video.